it's me, your Void. And today I'm going to break my own heart a bit. So we all know this whole thing of you find a book that you just really, really, really love, and it is basically perfection, and you will not accept critique about the book. Well, I am here to critique some of my favorite books for you. Because no book out there is perfect. I have not read the perfect book yet, and I'm pretty sure it just doesn't exist. There will always be some flaw with everything you read, and my favorite books aren't above everyone else's, so I thought I'd give you some of the negatives of some of my favorite books. And yes, there's a Brynne McClellan in here. So first up, we have The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. There is nothing happening in here. There is zero... there is technically a plot in here. It is hinted at it in the beginning. But that plot happens so far in the background that you forget it is happening at all. You don't realize when it starts, and you only remember that it is there by the end, when it gets resolved. Like that. This is all about the characters and the character dynamics, and it is basically an exercise in world building when you have multiple worlds and cultures and species to play with. This might as well could be an encyclopedia about certain alien species, and it would not take away from the story. There's just nothing going on in here. If you don't vibe with the characters on page, let's say 50, you probably won't enjoy the rest of the book. Then we have Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. This one is a serial killer comedy romance, and honestly, it is banking on the shock value of these murders. The whole serial killing aspect doesn't play as much a role as you think it does. It is literally played up for shock value. The second we drop the amount of violence, we instead get heart bonking. So, yeah, the killing in here is very much shock value. It is cool if you think about it, because these two are serial killers that hunt other serial killers, so there is an aspect of you had it coming and yay to it. But then again, the brutality in here is just for shock value. It feels as if it is just for shock value. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This one has even less plot than Becky Chambers. This one has no plot whatsoever. This is 100% vibes, and for 95% of the time you have zero idea what is actually going on. It doesn't help that this is a story with stories interwoven into it that are technically essential to the non-existent plot. So there are parts in here that you don't understand, but understanding them is a key element to understanding the rest of the book, leaving you to not understand what is going on. This is purely vibes, and if you can stomach purely vibes with beautiful prose, go for it. But if you are looking for any kind of plot, even a smidge, you are not going to find it here. Speaking of having no plot to be found, Sex Wizards, or rather Initiation, the first book in the Sex Wizards series by Alethea Faust. Between these covers, there is little more than smut. The smuttiest smut to ever smut. Between every color and color combination under the rainbow, but plot is an afterthought in this one. What plot you get is good, in my opinion. But if you're looking for a high fantasy book full of plot and a little smut, don't read this book. This is first and foremost smut. I mean, it is called Sex Wizards. What are you expecting from a book that is called Sex Wizards? Let's be honest here. This one is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. Promise of Blood by Brynne McClellan. This book is incredibly sexist. There, I said it. This book is incredibly sexist. It does not manage to pass the Bechdel test. Women in here are depicted in very questionable ways, and for some people they are depicted in questionable ways that are too questionable. Now, I was able to stomach it. This is my favorite book. This whole series is my favorite book. But I do recognize its issues. I do, however, also think that this book, this series, gets better in its depiction of women the further along you get. All the way until the very impressive power move in Wrath of Empire by Flora. But this book is written by a white man, and you can tell that it is written by a white man. It is very sexist, especially the first book. The next one is Thieves and Monsters by Clio Evans, but it's technically only a stand-in for every full-length novel by Clio Evans. Not so much the novellas, but the full-length novels by Clio Evans. Clio Evans doesn't know how to do plot. Clio Evans doesn't know how to do plot. There is plot in these books, but it is incredibly flat. It is most of the time just half of an afterthought, and the problems in the plot never have any kind of urgency, necessarily. And they are resolved like that, so we can go back to the bonking. It is... Clio Evans does not know how to do plot. The smut? Perfect. The plot? Not so much. Then we have a horror book with 13 stories by Jonathan Sims. No, not the head archivist of the Magnus Institute in London. The actual guy. This is his debut novel, and it reads... I like to advertise it as that. It reads very much like a short season of the Magnus Archives. But that is also somewhat of a downfall of it, because this book reads like a collection of short stories that, by the end, you figure out are all connected to each other. But it reads like a collection of short stories, so if you want to have just a full horror novel plot thing going on, this is a collection of short stories that get intermingled the further you go in. It is incredibly well written. I loved it. I loved it. I yeet this at everyone who wants to listen, even at people who don't want to listen. But this is a collection of short stories, especially in the beginning, when there is no crossovers between these people other than they live in the same building. There are a lot of names being thrown around in a not very long book, so just be aware. There's a lot going on because it's a collection of short stories, basically. And there you have it. A bunch of critiques I am willing to accept about some of my favorite books, or favorite authors, because no book is without fail. And I accept that. I accept that. But I also think we can enjoy things that aren't perfect. Not everything has to be. We can still enjoy it. The important point is that we recognize the issues of things that we enjoy. If you made it this far in the video, leave the sad emoji, leave a sad emoji in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!